It was a mild evening in the spring of 1996, and I had some errands to run before heading home. Abilene, Texas wasn't exactly known for being a bustling metropolis, but it was a quiet, comfortable place where you could feel safe. That night, I was on my way to pay a bill at a drop box located outside a local internet provider's office. It was in a small strip mall, and even though it was after dark, the area was well lit by the streetlights and the glow from the nearby businesses. I pulled my car into the parking lot, turned off the engine, and settled in to write a check. My thoughts were focused on the usual mundane matters, finances, work, and what to have for dinner. Nothing out of the ordinary. But as I sat there, something strange happened. It started with a tap on my window. It wasn't loud, just a gentle knock. The kind you might expect from someone looking for directions or needing a jump start. I turned my head and looked out the window. What I saw sent an unexpected chill down my spine. Two boys, no older than 12 or 13, stood outside my car. Their faces were partially obscured by the shadows, but I could see enough to know they were just kids. They were dressed normally, jeans, hoodies, nothing that would immediately set off any alarms, but something about them didn't sit right with me. I hesitated for a moment before rolling down the window just a crack. "Can I help you?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. The taller of the two boys spoke first. "Mister, can you give us a ride? We need to go home to our mom, but we forgot our money. Can you just take us to our house?" His voice was calm, too calm, and there was something off about the way he spoke. It was as if he was trying too hard to sound innocent. My instincts were telling me that something was very wrong, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. "I'm sorry," I said, "but I'm not in a position to give you a ride. Where's your house? Maybe I can call someone for you." The boy didn't answer my question. Instead, he kept staring at me, his expression blank and emotionless. Then the other boy, who had been silent up until that point, spoke up. "We're just two little kids, mister. We're not going to hurt you. Just let us in your car." It was then that I noticed something that made my blood run cold. Their eyes. Their eyes were pitch black, devoid of any color or whites, just solid, empty blackness. I was frozen, my heart pounding in my chest as I stared into those lifeless eyes. I felt a deep, primal fear welling up inside me, the kind of fear that you only feel when you know something is terribly wrong. I quickly rolled up the window and locked the doors, my hands trembling. The taller boy's expression changed, his calm demeanor replaced by something far more menacing. He banged on the window, his voice rising in anger. "Mister, let us in. We can't come in unless you say it's okay. Let us in." I shook my head, unable to speak, my mouth dry with fear. The other boy joined in, pounding on the passenger side window, demanding that I let them inside. The sound of their fists hitting the glass echoed in the small parking lot, each thud reverberating through my entire body. I don't know how long it lasted, seconds, minutes. It felt like an eternity. But then, as suddenly as it started, it stopped. The boys stepped back from the car, their expressions returning to that eerie calmness. They stood there watching me, their black eyes boring into my soul. I couldn't move, couldn't think. All I could do was stare back at them. Finally, I forced myself to move. My hands shaking, I started the car, my eyes never leaving the two figures outside. They didn't flinch, didn't react in any way. They just stood there watching me with those soulless eyes. I put the car in gear and sped out of the parking lot, not daring to look back. My heart was racing, and my mind was spinning with questions. Who were they? What were they? I had never felt such a deep, visceral fear before in my life. It was as if I had come face to face with something that wasn't entirely human. When I got home, I locked every door and window, the memory of those black eyes haunting me. I tried to rationalize it, to tell myself that it was just a couple of kids playing a prank. But deep down, I knew that wasn't the case. There was something otherworldly about them, something evil. Over the next few days, I couldn't shake the feeling of dread that had settled over me. I started researching, looking for any explanations that could make sense of what I had experienced. That's when I stumbled upon the legend of the black-eyed children, According to the stories, these entities appear as children, usually around the age of 12, and approach unsuspecting adults asking for help. They might ask for a ride, to use a phone, or to come inside your home, but there's always something off about them. Their eyes, completely black, and the overwhelming sense of fear they instill in those who encounter them. The more I read, the more I realize that my experience wasn't unique. There were countless accounts of people who had encountered these beings, all describing the same sense of dread and terror that I had felt. The stories all shared one common thread. The black-eyed children could not enter unless they were invited in. I don't know what would have happened if I had opened that door, if I had let those boys into my car, but I'm certain it wouldn't have been anything good. I was lucky, if you can call it that, to have escaped with just the memory of that night. Even now, years later, the image of those two boys with their black, soulless eyes still haunts me. I've told this story to a few people, but most just laugh it off, chalking it up to an overactive imagination or a strange coincidence. But I know what I saw and I know what I felt. There's a darkness out there, something that we can't fully understand or explain. And sometimes that darkness takes the form of two children with black eyes asking for a ride. If you ever find yourself in a similar situation, take my advice. Don't open the door. Don't let them in, because once you do, there may be no going back. Some nights, when the wind howls through the trees and the shadows grow long, I still think about those boys. I wonder if they're out there somewhere in the night, waiting for their next victim. I wonder how many people have encountered them, and how many have fallen for their innocent facade. I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't followed my instincts that night. But most of all, I wonder if they'll ever come back. So, if you're ever out late at night in a deserted parking lot and you hear a knock on your window, take a moment to think before you respond. Look closely, and if you see two children staring back at you with pitch black eyes, remember my story. Lock your doors, roll up your windows, and drive away as fast as you can, because once you've seen those eyes, you'll never forget them. And once they've seen you, they may never stop looking.